there are different people, speaking different things. For example, you have Sanjay Raut, who's once again yesterday on a day when Uddhav Thackeray sent a letter, on a day when the Chief Minister sent a letter, a message to these, so-called rebels. They're not really rebels anymore. They're the party because they have 39 MLAs with them. On one hand, you threaten them, and then on the other hand, you tell them to come and sit over the table and sort every issue that you have. So it's sort of it's the kind of duality that even the Shinde camp is saying is not something that inspires confidence, and that's why they've been tweeting about it incessantly. They've been talking about it, and yesterday once again, I think a statement was made by Sanjay Raut, if I'm not wrong, and has been widely reported once again today. And that statement says that they need to when these rebels come back, they should not be spared. Now, obviously, that is a threat. And obviously, there have been many threats, controversial statements that have come in. So, in that sense, it's not something that will inspire confidence. And they, in the beginning, I remember, Nupur, when we reported in the initial days of last week, when the story was that Eknath Shinde had moved to Surat, when they wrote a letter with the support of 34 MLAs, they had said very clearly that we don't want to do anything with the Congress and the NCP. And then they gave the option to the Chief Minister as well to say that, we should just withdraw. They could have done something back then, but like we've been reporting, there have been different people putting different pressures on the Chief Minister, perhaps asking him not to resign at this point. And it all comes down to this evening. And, we've seen this development so many times, Nupur, so many times when, in Karnataka, in Madhya Pradesh, it all comes down to a legal battle eventually because everyone's trying to, say what they're trying to hang on to. Aishwarya is joining me live once again. Aishwarya, what's the strategy? Because, they're not going to go down without a fight. Both sides are prepared for this fight. And we know how both sides are armed with the biggest lawyers in the country. Yes, I think we lost the line with Aishwarya there, Nupur. But this is going to go down to the wire at 5 p.m. We will have a big build-up on Republic. We will have the biggest team. Ridhim Anand Bharadwaj will be live. And the courts also have, refused to intervene. They did not give any interim order a few days back. So it was very clear that the numbers remained with the Shinde camp. The disqualification did not happen. I think Aishwarya is back on the phone line. Aishwarya, what's the strategy? What's the strategy now that these MLAs are en route? Mumbai.
Well, Niranjan's strategy is very clear to show on the floor of the House that the majority is not there with Uddhav Thackeray, with the sitting Chief Minister, and that's why you see the desperation on the part of the MBA. That is why you see the desperation on the part of Uddhav Thackeray, Sharad Pawar, and then the Congress that under any circumstance they do not want the floor test to happen. Because at the end of the day, they understand that the number are just not in their favor, and that's why they are taking or trying to use the legal tactic to prevent it by saying that when they have already approached the Apex Court and the Apex Court has given the time for the 11th of the coming month, that is on the rebel MLAs, then how can there be a floor test? Because they understand, and the writing is on the wall, that Uddhav Thackeray does not, and I repeat, does not entertain majority on the floor of the House. And that is what the reality is. I would just have to...
I think we lost the line with Aishwarya there. I think he got a call, Nupur, but I can tell you that if you look at the numbers, the sheer numbers, and we've been displaying the numbers all over the screens this morning, let's once again put the numbers on the bottom half of the screen. And you will see that the numbers are not on the side of the Uddhav Thackeray camp or the MDA government. And the numbers are clearly, if you look at the numbers show that as far as the BJP is concerned, 106. The rebels, that is the Shinde camp, has 51 at last count. So, it's 106 plus 51. And they already had support of these smaller parties. So it's in excess of 160, around 164. And that leaves you the total strength of the assembly is about 287, which leaves the Uddhav camp and the government with just about, 116 or 117, which, will still be difficult by the recent polls and the Lok Sabha elections. The BJP's managed to gather 133 on its own with the help of independents. So it's going to be a very, very smooth sailing, if I can call it that, for the BJP plus Shinde camp.
Absolutely.
They have the numbers and they seem extremely confident. And that's why they've been, you had Fadnavis fly down to Delhi with Mahesh Jethmalani. It's symbolic because Mahesh Jethmalani is not just a Rajya Sabha MP, he's a legal eagle and he knows these things. And they've had the biggest legal minds also advising them on the way forward. So I think they're armed with facts, they're armed with, the legal confidence to go ahead and push this through this evening.
Absolutely, Niranjan, also, wouldn't it be in the best interest of everybody to have this over with? Because it's been hanging in the balance for far too long now. We have seen a government which, is just hanging by a thin thread.
Just for example, Nupur, look at yesterday's example. You had a building collapse in Mumbai where over 15 lives were lost, Nupur. And in that building collapse, the MLA of that area, we understand, is also in Guwahati. Now, just look at the situation. It's raining in Maharashtra. In many parts of Maharashtra, there is a little bit of a flood-like situation. In many parts of Maharashtra, farmers are struggling. And it's a fact. Now, in the wake of these developments and in the wake of these facts at hand, it is not in anybody's good that governance is in a limbo. On one hand, you have these MLAs there, and on the other, you have this attempt. We yesterday, one comment came in from one of the senior leaders of a party that over 400 to 450 orders have been passed in the last 2 weeks, and that tells you that on one hand, some people are in a hurry to push through these projects because the government is perhaps on its last leg, and the second scenario is that there is complete paralysis on governance, even though they like you to believe that governance is in place. The truth is that many leaders are simply missing. Elected representatives are simply missing, Nupur. So I think this has gone on for long. And even, there are a few PILs that have been filed, etc., questioning both sides, questioning the Shinde camp, questioning the Uddhav camp. At the end of the day, when there are rains in Mumbai, there is water shortage in Mumbai, India's financial capital has its own set of issues. This is in nobody's interest. And if anything, I think it's stability that people want. And that stability, hopefully, there should be some sort of an indication this evening at about 5 p.m. I think there is some more breaking news that's also coming in from the Home Ministry. Before I go across to that, Aishwarya should be able to join us with that breaking news update. But this is where we stand, Nupur. I think it all comes down to this evening at 5 p.m. that hearing will begin. Nupur.
Yes, absolutely. As Niranjan is pointing out, 5 p.m. is when we are going to see the Supreme Court take up this matter. Do remember that this follows, of course, the governor asking for a floor test. Before that, we saw Devendra Fadnavis from the BJP go to the governor and say that he believes that this government does not enjoy a majority and hence a floor test now becomes necessary. The governor, of course, had ordered